Hello everyone. How about yourself? How can I live with hope for the future? If you find it hard to find hope, I have something to share with you through this speech. Actually, in Japan, surveys show that many young people carry quiet anxieties about what lies ahead. Yet, my grandparents often told me, young people today are fortunate. They don't know hardship. And my grandparents used to tell me about their experiences during the war every time we met. They spoke of how there wasn't enough food, how there were no shops to buy from, how they had no choice but to go into the mountain to gather fruits or wild plants. And in doing so, learned about nature and what was safe to eat. They told me that there were almost no convenient or comfortable things as today, so they have to use creativity when doing something. And they told me that there was no one to teach them how to do housework, manage daily life, and raise vegetables. So they had to learn everything by themselves through trial and error. Above all, they had to start working under wartime labor mobilization right after finishing elementary or junior high school. But I kept wondering, what does it really mean to know hardship when my grandparents say so? Although young people today face many hardships. And what happens to us when we grow up without it? After that, I entered the teacher training program in university and obtained teaching licenses. However, the dream I had once when I was little was to go abroad and be involved in solving issues of poverty, especially among children. And so, I thought the situations my grandparents experienced during the wartime were similar to the poverty in developing countries I saw on TV. After entering graduate school, remembering that, I began to wonder if there was any way I could make use of what I had learned in Faculty of Education. Then, I decided to join a program that supports children living under such difficult circumstances in the Philippines. In the Philippines, I had a lot of valuable experiences and was touched by people, city, and nature, as much as experiences that were shocking and difficult to see. I met children whose daily lives were unimaginably hard. I saw families who couldn't pay rent and lived in cemeteries or garbage dumps. I saw 8 siblings and their parents packed into one room, so small, only 5 could sleep inside, so other 5 of them had to take turns sleeping on the hallway outside. I saw girls, only 13, even 8 years old, selling keychains on the street, washing buses, and begging strangers for money to cover school fees for her brother. They struggled with poverty. Many of them worked, not for pocket money, but to support their families. And yet, what struck me most was not their hardship. It was their smile. They laughed, they prayed, they carried themselves with dignity. They said they were happy. I interviewed a Filipino 13-year-old girl there. I cannot forget her words. She said, I fell on the street because I want to support my family. I just want to. This makes me strong and independent. People in the Philippines were not ashamed to be poor. And despite living in such hardship, those children seemed powerful and even hopeful. That shocked me, because before that, I did teaching practice in Japan and spent some time with Japanese children. They were cheerful? Yes. They were lively? Yes. But compared to the children I met in the Philippines, they seemed ruthless, dull, and unsure of themselves. Japanese children, at least in general, live in greater comfort than those I met in the Philippines. Now, could we find children living like those in Japan? Maybe in very rare cases. But in Japan, child labor is illegal. Public support would quickly step in. In the Philippines, such support is often limited. And this contrast breaks the stereotype I had with me, that poverty meant pitiful. Not always. Some people say Filipinos have a national character that allows them to laugh through hardship, not taking suffering too seriously. But I felt it was more than that, something deeper, something else. This is not just about poverty or wealth, and it is exactly that something else that I want to explore here today. Because it shines a light on what may be missing in Japan's own educational environment. What does it mean? The children I met in the Philippines lived with very little. Every day they faced difficulties, and they had no choice but to find their own way through them by trying different paths, learning by trial and error. Because those challenges were directly tied to their daily survival. And whatever the outcome was, they had to take it upon themselves. They were learning with their instincts and practical experiences about how the world works and about life itself. They were developing the ability to live, returning to the answer or meaning of hardships. I think my grandparents wanted to ensure that young people today could lose the chances to develop that. Of course, we should not glorify such conditions. Every child has a right to be loved, to be protected, to be respected as a precious being, and to receive an education. Above all, every child deserves to experience a true childhood. And yet, in such conditions, those lives can easily be fragile, easily threatened. That is also the reality. But from the way they lived, from the way they carried themselves, there was so much to learn. Because those experiences, sometimes your very life depends on it, that you must overcome obstacles on your own. Small wins accumulate. They grow into confidence, into self-belief. And what about the environment I saw in Japanese schools? I remember one story. At the junior high school I taught at, field trip once included free exploration time. Students had to read a map, decide on route, cooperate to reach destination, and manage time. One year, a group took a wrong turn. They arrived at 15 minutes late. That night, a parent called. My child could have been in danger. What were the teachers doing? How do you think the school reacted? The school reacted by removing free time from the trip. From then on, field trip became a simple process. Teacher in front, students falling behind. The result? Children lost the chance to get lost, the chance to negotiate with friends, the chance to take responsibility. Adults create away the risks, and with them, the learning what comes with it. Of course, school rules can protect children. We understand what parents are concerned about. Parents' voices matter. But true growth happens when children face challenges and overcome them. Failure, too, is essential. When we eliminate every risk in the name of safety, we also eliminate the experiences that help children grow. Too often, these restrictions serve the convenience of adults while quietly stealing the very part children need to live. In Japan, on the surface, it is safe, comfortable, and secure. But obstacles are often cleared away before children ever face them. Opportunities to make decisions for themselves, to act, to learn from society, nature, and other people in a different ways. Those are quietly disappearing. Children today often spend days filled with classes from a fixed curriculum. After school come homework, from school, or lessons, often chosen not by the children, but by their parents. In recent years, schools too have tightened control, fearing complaints from so-called monster parents in Japan. They remove challenges that might cause trouble. After I came back from the Philippines, I sometimes feel Japanese children are being raised like vegetables in a greenhouse. Inside, carefully protected, shielded from risk, they might grow tall, but fragile. They spend their days shuttered from the wider world, just taking in what is given, exactly as it is. They may acquire strong test-taking skills, but stripped of unpredictable, stripped of trial and error. They lack the immunity, the sensitivity, the resilience that only the open air can give. Just as vegetables in a greenhouse are pruned of every element that doesn't serve their market value, so too are children deprived of the very experiences that make them whole. At the beginning, I asked you, have you ever wondered how you can live with hope for the future? If you feel hard to find or hold on to hope, I have something to share with you from what I mentioned here. It is a gentle invitation to listen to your own inner voice. It might be the chance that you choose by yourself, find your own way. Inner voice that with each of us, without relying on what other people think. Let that voice come alive, to send it traveling into the air as words as actions, which carry judgment and the courage to accept its echo, whatever it may be. It deepens into confidence. It deepens into self-belief. It says into hope. And hope, in turn, gives birth to independence and the courage to begin again and again. In Japan, children are sometimes given no chance to resonate with their own voices. Even after becoming adults, Without that practice, how can they learn to trust their own will? How can they find the courage to act? Of course, we should not give Japanese children the harshness of the slum, but we can give them small walls to climb, moments to decide for themselves, to fail, to try again. When children raise their voices, we should not silence them. We should have the courage to let them be. And when they succeed, celebrate them. And for today, I ask you, do you resonate with your own inner voice? And do you support that of the person beside you? Then we can create a world filled with hope. Thank you.